is balanced. Yet they are a month late. State budget was due on June 30th, 1 month ago. It is past time for this General Assembly to pass a budget that puts the people of North Carolina first. First, we need to pay our teachers better. Right now, North Carolina's starting teacher pay is among the lowest in the entire Southeast, lower than every one of the states that border us. Just last week, we found out that teachers in North Carolina pay the second most out of pocket for school supplies in the entire nation. We need these investments. My proposed budget raises starting teacher pay to the highest in the Southeast, reinstates master pay, and provides teachers a school supply stipend. Over the past 2 years, we've lost 1/10 of the state's teachers. When we do not pay our teachers, when we do not respect our teachers, when we make the teachers pay for the students' school supplies out of their already low earnings, we make the teaching profession less appealing to our best and brightest. Educators prepare the next generation and set them up for success, set our state up for success. Failing to properly value our teachers is bad for them, it is bad for our students, it is bad for our families, and it is bad for the state of North Carolina. Today, I've invited North Carolina's 2025 Teacher of the Year, Rachel Candoso, to speak. Rachel teaches middle school in Pitt County and is passionate about making sure that our kids, particularly those in rural areas, have every opportunity to succeed. Yet as she prepares to head back to school next month, she has no certainty that this General Assembly values the hard work that she and all of her colleagues across the state do every day for our kids. Rachel, I want to thank you for being here and sharing your story in a moment. We also have to pay our state and local law enforcement officers better. We ask these officers to make tremendous sacrifices on our behalf. We ask them to run toward danger that the rest of us would flee. Time and time again, they say yes to protect and to serve. It is not an easy job. Yet too many state agencies, local governments across our state are facing shortages of officers. We need more cops on the beat, not fewer, to keep us safe. If we want to recruit and retain the best law enforcement, we have to show them how much we value them and their work. My budget raises salaries for all state law enforcement officers with a particular eye to correctional officers and youth counselors, which are facing above average vacancies. To bring more people into the profession, the budget also offered signing bonuses to basic law enforcement training graduates and to out-of-state transfers who are hired here in North Carolina. The legislature has the chance to put its money where its mouth is and pay our law enforcement officers appropriately. Today, we have Captain Kimberly Lane from the Durham Sheriff's Office to address this issue. She spends her days working on recruiting and retaining deputies, and she'll share more about the urgent needs of these kinds of support in a moment. Safe communities and strong schools are two reasons people love living in North Carolina, and we have to invest to keep it that way. We also need to fix one of our state's major pain points, the DMV. People should not have to line up for hours at the DMV or take days off work or sacrifice a spring break vacation just to get a driver's license. Our DMV employees need better working conditions, more support so that they can effectively provide the high quality service to all North Carolinians that everyone deserves. I agree with Auditor Dave Bullock, who said, quote, "The DMV isn't a partisan issue, it is a North Carolina issue." I also agree with him that we need to fund more slots for DMV inspectors and examiners. It is simple math. With more employees, we can see more North Carolinians. I applaud the General Assembly for recognizing there are significant and urgent needs at the DMV and urge both chambers to see their proposals for more examiners to the finish line. Sarah Morgan, a Durham resident, has been to the DMV 6 times in the last 2 months to get her real ID. 6 times. She doesn't have time for that. No one does. We can and must do better. She will speak soon about just how badly the DMV needs more funding, more people. The DMV isn't the only place that's waiting on the General Assembly for funding. Our Medicaid program is counting on funds. It needs additional funds. Today, General Assembly has yet to fund the rebase that is necessary to protect people's Medicaid coverage, meaning that just to provide the people who are on the system the level of service that they have been guaranteed, it costs more money because of inflation from one year to the next. They have not funded that. The cost of health care is increasing, and if the legislature doesn't keep fully funding the program, the legislature will cause painful cuts to people's health care. And what's coming out of Washington, D.C. certainly is not helping. Because of the reconciliation law that passed earlier this month, on the current path, nearly 900,000 North Carolinians are at risk of losing their health care coverage under Medicaid. Let me say that again. We're looking at almost 900,000 North Carolinians losing health insurance. Our entire Medicaid expansion program is at risk if the state legislature does not pass a fix to pay for new administratively burdensome work requirements. Since expansion began, $8.3 million in prescriptions have been filled for Medicaid expansion enrollees. Prescriptions for heart disease, diabetes, seizures, life-saving medication. Meds that people needed before, but they could not afford. Without a legislative fix in the budget, that coverage could be lost. People who can now finally afford to see a doctor when they're sick or manage their chronic conditions, they could be losing health care just as quickly as they got it. It is unacceptable, and it is completely avoidable. Passing Medicaid expansion into law was a bipartisan victory for North Carolina. Saving it must be as well. The General Assembly must get to work now to fund the traditional Medicaid program and to protect expansion. Joanna Parker is here with us today, and despite being consistently employed for the last decade, she did not have insurance until Medicaid expansion. With her insurance, she was able to get her first mammogram where a precancerous mass was detected. We all shudder to think about her prognosis if she had not gotten that screening. She's counting on us to protect expansion so that she can keep receiving treatment. I'll leave it to Joanna to tell us more about what losing health care would mean to her. Instead of taking action on all of these important issues that will make a real difference in people's lives, the General Assembly is in town today to act on a number of veto overrides, including one that will raise folks' power bills precisely when people are struggling with already high bills. The legislation could increase residential power bills by $23 billion over the next 25 years. That's nearly $1 billion in more costs each year on residential ratepayers. It will increase costs on regular people. It actually does this. It takes money, raises it on regular people to lower the costs of industrial users. Regular people will pay more so that big corporations will pay less. That is in the legislation. It will also undermine our strong clean energy sector, potentially costing us nearly $50 billion in lost investment and more than 50,000 future good-paying jobs. I'm joined by Miltrine Newell, a resident of Lewisburg who's on fixed income, Social Security. She doesn't have the room in her budget for her utility bills to go up, and I'll leave it to her to share her story in a moment. The legislature should prioritize making a real difference in the lives of North Carolinians. That means they need to pass a sound budget to do what the people of North Carolina sent us here to do, set our state up for success. Thank you. And I'll now turn it over to Rachel Candoso, North Carolina's 2025 Teacher of the Year. Rachel.
Thank you, Governor Stein. Good morning. Again, my name is Rachel Candoso, and I serve as the 2025 Burroughs Wellcome Fund North Carolina Teacher of the Year. I stand here today not just as one educator, but as a voice for over 100,000 public school teachers across our state. Teachers who are preparing their classrooms, welcoming students, and doing everything they can to make this school year a success, all while still waiting for our General Assembly to pass the state budget. I've written to members of the General Assembly over the last few days, urging them to bring the budget to the agenda this week. but I'm here today so they can truly hear my voice and the voices of those I represent. Right now, many educators are starting the year without knowing what their salary will be or whether their years of service will be fully recognized. Inflation in North Carolina has risen nearly 20% over the past 5 years, yet our salary schedule hasn't kept up. Too many teachers are forced to take on second or third jobs to make ends meet. Personally, I'm one of them. I've always had to work a side job to support myself, especially as a single income educator. Last year, I partnered with Teach for America to recruit new teachers to North Carolina. I'm proud to say that 7 of those educators are beginning their careers here this upcoming school year. I spoke with them yesterday and shared how impactful their investment in our students is and how they made the right choice in becoming a North Carolina educator. But that belief must be backed from our state leaders. I think of Lydia Sell, the 2025 Western Regional Teacher of the Year, who is entering her 7th year in Swain County. Like many rural communities, Swain offers no local salary supplement. Without a passed budget and without a meaningful raise, educators like Lydia are faced with the heartbreaking decision of whether they can afford to stay in the profession they love. The reality is that in our rural communities, where barriers to recruitment and retention are already high, we are pushing great educators like Lydia out simply because we have not financially prioritized them at a state level. Lydia is committed to her students, to her home county, and to delivering a high-quality education. But commitment alone does not pay the bills. This is not just about numbers on a page. It's about whether we truly value the people shaping North Carolina's future. Whether we believe every child, whether they are in Swain County or at Harker's Island in our eastern side of the state, deserve a fully supported, high-quality educator. So today, I join educators across the state in calling on our legislators, pass a budget that honors our work, invest in our teachers, invest in our 1.5 million students, invest in North Carolina's future. Thank you.
Good morning. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Governor Stein for allowing me to speak today and offer my support for his proposed budget. I'm not just here as a representative of the Durham County Sheriff's Office. I am here to be a voice for all local and state law enforcement agencies that struggle to recruit and hire the best officers we can find. Collectively, we need to be aggressive in our efforts to entice those within the state of North Carolina and nationally to seek us out. We need a voice that extends beyond local politics. We need a state budget that addresses and recognizes that modern law enforcement cannot evolve without the help from all levels of government. I think everyone agrees that people want to feel safe in their homes, in their cars, in their businesses, and in everything they do. To not compromise on that level of safety, officers do more with fewer resources, often to the detriment of their own health. This has been the norm for several years now, and I fear this methodology cannot sustain itself. This is not meant to be a scare tactic. It is merely a wake-up call and a reality check. We are now confronted with a self-perpetuating problem in which officers want to leave if they work in an understaffed environment. As a state, we need to ask ourselves what our priorities are. Governor Stein is showing us that law enforcement is a priority by offering common sense financial measures to encourage anyone entering the job force to consider law enforcement. My agency has worked tirelessly to recruit and bring in qualified individuals that want to put their life on the line to serve their community. Yet, our efforts are often in vain as retirements and natural attrition leave vacancies that cannot be filled at the same rate as which they occur. How do we fix it? Even as we continue to restore the image of this profession by weeding out those that have tarnished it, we still struggle to let people know it is a profession that can pay the bills. We find that people are still wanting to do this job, but if they have doubts about their income, We often lose in a cost-benefit analysis. Within the last year, 2 very qualified deputies left our agency to pursue other careers, one in nursing and the other to operate his own landscaping business. And even as we wish them well in their endeavors, I thought to myself, wow, what a shame those guys are no longer serving. Every position in our agency is valued, every position is important, and any loss is a loss to us, our county, and our profession. Not only do we need to get applicants in the door, but we also need them to stay, and this budget is a step in the right direction by encouraging them to come through that door. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I hope my words matter, because this budget matters to all of us. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Sarah Morgan, and I'm currently a resident of Durham. When I arrived in North Carolina in 2008 as a newly separated grad student with 2 small children, I went to the DMV to update my license, and I was able to get it done within my 1-hour lunch break. When I remarried in 2016, I went to the DMV to update my new name and address. I went on a Wednesday afternoon, and I was in and out in about 2 hours. My husband and I now, after sending 4 kids to college and saving for almost 10 years, finally bought our first home in November. And I still have not been able to update my address or to upgrade to my real ID. I cannot get an appointment online. Every time I go to the website, all I see is location after location with no appointments available. On more than one occasion, I have visited one of the greater Raleigh-Durham area offices, and I've been turned away after waiting because walk-ins were not welcome after a certain time, or because there wasn't enough staff there to help, or for some other reason. I travel for work, and while I can use my passport to fly, it feels risky and unnecessary for travel within the U.S. Meanwhile, my children, COVID kids who had their high school years upended, who didn't get driver's licenses because of the backlog, who had to wait until 18 to get their licenses, they also struggled to get appointments. And when they did, they arrived at the DMV to public servants who were unnecessarily stern, rude, and unhelpful. I'm sure that this is largely due to burnout and stress from dealing with understaffing and unrelenting long lines day after day, that they know they will run out of time and resources to help. Just 4 days ago, I arrived to one of our offices with my son to take his road test. We got there at 5 a.m. and stood in line outside the building until it opened at 8, hoping that he would get a testing spot. At 9 a.m., he was finally told that he would be granted the last testing spot of the day. And 5 hours after that, he finally tested, and thank goodness he passed. However, I was made to sit in the car and wait for him because he's not a minor anymore, and there's no seating for people who are not being seen if they are not there with a minor. We're in a heat wave, and by 11 a.m., I was out of water and becoming overwhelmed by the temperatures. Thankfully, my other son was close by, and he could come get me. And as I took my waiting son the keys to the car, I could see the line still halfway around the building, people of all ages sitting in the boiling sun hoping to be seen. As I reached the door, one of the DMV staff came outside and made people who were gathered under an awning rearrange themselves into a straight line, pushing several of them from shaded spots out into the sun. Then told them that they had little hope of being seen before the office closed for the day. And it's all just maddening and very sad. And I hear the people who say, just go to another county, or you had years to get this done, but the DMV has been like this for years. In 2018, I took my mother, who had relocated from New Jersey and is in her 70s, to get a state ID, and we waited 5 hours without food or water, only to be turned away because of a missing document that was not indicated as required on the state website. And I, like many other North Carolinians, have a job where I cannot just take days off in a row to spend hours at the DMV on the chance that I might be seen and might get my issue resolved. And I, like many other North Carolinians, cannot just drive an hour or more away to visit an office that might be less busy and might be able to help me. This problem with our DMV is a crisis. It's as serious as any other issue that's happening right now in our state. It has an impact on our citizens' ability to drive safely and compliantly, to travel, and to vote within their correct districts without disruption. It has gone on too long. The staff at the DMVs are burnt out. They too are citizens of our state, and they too deserve better support. Governor Stein has created a plan and a budget that will solve this crisis, and we need our state representatives to pass this budget and activate this plan. North Carolinians need and deserve a better experience at our DMV, to be straightforward and effective. Our staff at the DMV deserve to have a healthy work environment that's appropriately staffed and that doesn't feel like going into battle making impossible choices every day. We need the help of our legislature to make this happen. We all need this budget passed so we can move forward to making our great state even greater, so we can fully embrace and benefit from all the growth and development that we want to come. I thank Governor Stein and his amazing staff for inviting me here today to share my story, and I ask again for the support of the legislature in passing this budget. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to speak. I am truly honored to be here. My name is Joanna Parker, and I live in Garner, North Carolina. I thought I might share a little bit of my story and healthcare journey with you all today to explain how Medicaid expansion changed my life. I was diagnosed with degenerative disc disease in my spine about 2 years before Medicaid expansion was enacted in North Carolina. This is a condition where the discs in my back can rub together and at times press on the nerves and cause terrible pain and weakness. When I got the diagnosis, I did not have health care and had not been able to afford adequate health care for years. For a case like mine, surgery is not recommended, but it can be managed better with medication and therapy. Some days the pain was debilitating, but out-of-pocket expenses for physical therapy and doctor's visits were not manageable. One visit to urgent care alone could cost upwards of $900. I had to cut back my hours at work and eventually had to leave my job. Then in December 2023, I was one of more than 270,000 people in North Carolina to automatically be enrolled in Medicaid expansion, and suddenly my world changed. I was able to go to the doctor regularly, go to physical therapy appointments, and get the necessary x-rays and receive medications that allowed me to return to work full-time. Recently, I received my first mammogram and got news that no one wants to hear. More testing was needed. They had found something called atypical ductal hyperplasia. Thankfully, Medicaid covered the additional testing that was needed. Many times people have to pay for this out of pocket or completely forego it. Luckily, I was able to get the imaging needed, and so far this is not cancerous. It does, however, mean an increased risk of developing breast cancer, and I have to see a specialist and will need more biopsies and a surgery to make sure everything is okay for now. Medicaid expansion allows me to receive the care I need to remain healthy and be with my friends and family, and I am grateful, and I am afraid to see how drastically my health and life will change without Medicaid. I hope North Carolina lawmakers do what is right, so the more than 670,000 people like me continue to receive this life-saving health care. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Mildred Newell, and I'm from Lewisburg, North Carolina. That is in Franklin County. I belong to Down Home, North Carolina. We are a member-led organization, and we deal with the economics, healthcare, and housing education in Franklin County. For those who don't know, Down Home, North Carolina is a community-led service organization. My personal story is, why I'm here today, is about my utility bill. My monthly budget is supported only by my fixed income. Each month, my expenses were pretty consistent, but from May to the current bill, my Duke Energy bill has risen considerably. I have a bill here, it started off, and I have the other ones, and May, $252.22. Now, I don't know what happened in between, okay, in between May and now, but I have a $765 light bill. On a fixed income, that will be devastating for me. It is devastating for me, and that's why I'm here today, because people on fixed income cannot pay these expensive electric bills. In Franklin County, a quarter of families pay more than $250 a month for their electric bills, and my lowest one was $250-some. For the last thing we can afford is for the General Assembly to pass this bill that is going to skyrocket the costs in the future. And Senate Bill 266 would do just that. It would let many big businesses pay less for fuel. Instead, families would have to cover the costs of the money that the businesses save. The bill would also allow Duke Energy to make us pay in advance for the building of these new energy bills, and some of them have not even been built. Why is it our job to fit this bill? As Governor Stein has said, the bill will cost North Carolinians, taxpayers, $223 billion over the next 25 years. That is billions of dollars. This is an expensive mistake that we cannot just avoid together, and we will also, it's also costly for it to pass. The people like me and you, that's who will have to support this bill. Is that right? No. The last thing that I can afford is for the General Assembly to pass this bill that's going to skyrocket the cost in the future. So I am here today to urge the General Assembly to vote on Senate Bill 266. Vote no on raising utility bills. Instead, let's focus on helping people succeed in North Carolina. I want to thank Governor Stein for being attentive to those important issues. And I turn it back to you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Get all my mess out of here.
You did great.
Thank you.
As you can see, there are a lot of important issues that need addressing by the General Assembly. They're here today, have been off work for nearly a month. They've not yet passed a budget, and they're passing a lot of other bills that are divisive. It's the wrong priorities for North Carolina. The people deserve better. You can ask questions of any of the speakers. Yes?
There's talk of some sort of smaller budget bill coming this week. Is that something that you've been in discussion with lawmakers about, as far as what, if they haven't reached a larger deal yet, rebase or something else just to move things forward?
We have had those discussions. I'm aware that that's what the General Assembly is considering. We have a lot of issues in North Carolina. We have education, we have public safety, we have health care, we have customer service like the DMV. These are issues, some of which may be included in a mini budget, but not everything will be. We need to take care of all of the state's government. I urge the General Assembly, let's set aside our differences. Let's come together on a budget that is sound, balanced, and in the interest of the people.
Can you say anything about what's being considered now, the immediate need, even if they don't have a comprehensive?
No. Yes, Gary.
Some of your predecessors granted a while back, Easley and Purdue took matters into their own hands when budget couldn't be reached. Pretty sure it was Purdue, definitely Easley, citing either Leandro or an emergency or anything like that. Do you foresee a time where if they don't pass something to your liking by the end of the summer that you may take some action to address some of the needs you consider high priority? Or
I surely hope that is not necessary. I have confidence that we can work together to do what is in the interest of the people of the state, and so I'm focusing on trying to be part of the solution.
The veto overrides today. Voters have made it clear that they want stricter immigration laws, and you vetoed two of those bills. Is there any flexibility on your part, anything that you would support?
The legislature passes some good bills. I've signed a number of them, and they passed some bad bills, and I vetoed a number of them. There's one bill that matters to every North Carolinian, and that is the budget bill. They could do nothing but pass the budget and set this state up for continued success. I urge the General Assembly to focus on what matters, helping us hire more good teachers, helping us hire more talented, public-spirited law enforcement officers, making sure that Medicaid covers our North Carolinian people who are desperate for health care, fixing the DMV. These are things that a budget can solve. I urge the General Assembly, let's put aside the divisive stuff. Let's focus on what matters to the people of North Carolina.
The House just put forward a proposal to put together this North Carolina Commission for Preparedness and Recovery. Is that something you support?
We're studying that bill. Yeah, we'll have to study it. I'm aware of an earlier incarnation. I certainly appreciate the spirit with which it has been introduced. We want to make sure that when we do recovery after a storm or we're preparing for a storm that we're ready to handle them. I'm not sure that the solution is the right one, but I certainly appreciate the spirit with which it is being introduced.
One, what do you think it says when lawmakers are here focused on overrides rather than passing a budget? And a simple question, if you could maybe write some comment on former Governor Cooper.
The General Assembly, by focusing on divisive bills that do not move the state forward, and in some instances make our state less safe, like allowing teenagers to carry concealed weapons without any training whatsoever, that is the wrong priority when you have not figured out how we're going to pay our teachers, when you've not figured out how we're going to ensure people on Medicaid continue to have the health care that they need, when you have not figured out how we're going to pay law enforcement to make that a profession more attractive, when you haven't figured out how we're going to fix the DMV. These are things that we should be doing. The legislature has not. We are a month. We're 1/12 of the year already, and they have not passed a budget. We need to focus on what matters and not these sideshows, which are distractions. And then as it relates to Governor Cooper's big news yesterday, here's one excited North Carolinian. I know who I will be supporting and voting for in the United States Senate race. I've known him for 25 years, think the world of him, and am excited about his candidacy because I know he is driven, he has a servant's heart. He is doing this because he loves North Carolina and he loves this country.
There are a number of Medicaid issues. One is the rebase, of course, expansion, and then the continuation of the Healthy Opportunities programs. Have you had any conversations with, HHS committee chairs in either chamber about what they would do going forward?
Yeah, we've had repeated conversations. The legislature has been open to understanding what is the consequence of the reconciliation law that came out of Washington. They want to understand the consequences of failing to pass a rebase. So yes, we've had a number of conversations. They've been constructive, but we need a bill. We need a law. And that's what we're urging the General Assembly to do.
Last question.
Considering the vetoes again, there's 14 that they're looking at. Had you not vetoed those bills, couldn't the legislature be more focused on the budget?
I'm quite certain that whether I signed these laws or vetoed them has nothing to do with what they've done for the last month. They could have reached a budget. Look, there are good bills, there are bad bills. I vetoed the bad ones, I've signed the good ones, but there's only one bill that matters to the people of North Carolina, and that is the budget, because it impacts every North Carolinian. It impacts our school kids and teachers. It impacts people who need to get a license at the DMV. It impacts people who are on Medicaid. 3 million North Carolinians are covered by Medicaid. It impacts law enforcement, whether we have enough on the beat. These are the issues that matter to North Carolina. These vetoes are a distraction that divides us. The legislature needs to focus on the people of North Carolina and pass a budget.
Thank you, everybody.
Go out this way.
As per usual, if y'all have any more follow-up questions, I'm pretty sure most of y'all know how to text call. You know, I do. I can send that.